Hi everybody! Welcome back to Echo. We are finally finishing off Carl's route today. It has been a few days since the last time I was able to record one of these. Hopefully I'm not too rusty. With that said, let's get into it. I watch as what looks like spinning blades come slowly into focus above me. I tense up, but only for a moment as I realize what it is. A ceiling fan. Wait, a ceiling fan? Isn't that... I sit up quickly, only to immediately swoon as the room starts to spin around me. I grip onto whatever I'm sitting on, and it happens to be soft and smooth. I look down and see that I'm on top of a blue comforter. To my left, Jenna, Raven, and Carl are stretched out next to me on a king-sized bed. To my right, sunshine streams in from sliding glass doors, outside of which is a massive deck. Past that porch are the mountains and desert of Echo. We're back. Oh my god, we're back! Guys! Guys! I shake Carl next to me. He immediately swings a hand to slap at me, but I persist until he's forced to sit up, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. Jenna and Raven stir next to him. What is it? What happened? Guys, we're back! We're in your house, Carl! Carl finally snaps his eyes open at that. Raven sits up next to Carl, and I see him sway with the same dizziness that I'd had earlier. Where are we? My parents' room. Carl's voice is hushed, quiet, as if afraid if he speaks too loudly this will all disappear. Relief like I've never known before flows through my body. Whether or not it was a dream, or a hallucination, or we were drugged somehow, it doesn't matter. What matters now is that we're home. Well, in Echo at least. I look over at Jenna, hoping to see her back to her old familiar self, but I find her staring around suspiciously, that dark look still in her eyes. Maybe that would take a longer while to wear off? I slowly push myself off the bed, the height of it making it more difficult for my feet to reach the ground. I touch down with my good foot, and I'm a bit surprised when my toes come in contact with a cold, hardwood floor. I thought this room had carpet the last time I was in here. I look back at Carl and see a confused look on his face, the fur on his brow crinkling up in the bright sunshine. Something's a little off, man. What? Something's wrong. I feel the beginnings of that sinking sensation in my chest again. Why? My parents' room isn't this big. I look around. I guess it looks a bit bigger than usual. The balcony seems to be the right size, though. And the floor. He points at my feet. Where's the carpet? Carl confirms my suspicions. The dread continues to grow in my stomach. Maybe they took the carpet out while we were gone? No one responds to that ridiculous idea. Jenna looks at the wall behind the bed and reaches out a hand to touch it tentatively. Carl lets out a loud, almost maniacal laugh. It's like I'm in a weird dream of my house or something. Carl pushes himself off the bed, his hooves clopping loudly, unnervingly against the hardwood floor that shouldn't exist. Fuck. Yeah, fuck. I can see the same emotions I feel in my chest playing out in Carl's eyes right now. He reaches out to give me some support. Well, maybe there are other people here? Even Raven's cheerful tone is forced and strained. I guess I was expecting that we'd end up in another dream world or whatever. But the fact that I thought for just a moment that we were back in the real world made this all the more soul-crushing. It feels like those fucking ghosts are toying with us at this point. I take a deep breath, willing myself not to lose it. Not yet, at least. Chase, I'm gonna move to the deck. I get a better grip onto Carl's side as he starts to move toward the glass doors, his hooves clopping while I hop along. He stares out, slowly reaching up with a hand to tug at the handle. To my surprise, it opens. I guess I thought that it would be the same as the last place we were in, that we'd be locked in or something. I follow Carl as he steps out onto the balcony, taking slow, careful steps, as if afraid that the deck may give out. The air is hot and heavy, almost humid. That isn't normal at all in Echo. Sure, it would get really hot, but it's a desert. Humidity is near non-existent. We reach the railing and stare out at the town below the foothills that Carl's mansion sits on. I take in a soft breath. Just like in the dream I had, the ruins of Echo aren't ruins anymore. Dozens of old-fashioned wooden buildings dot the edge of the lake. A little ways away I see the familiar buildings of the motel and supermarket, along with the small neighborhood of my childhood. And along Main Street I see a few buildings that I don't recognize. Not quite as old-fashioned as the buildings along the lake, but still pretty old-looking. What the hell? Carl almost whines out the words as I see him grip tightly onto the railing. I move closer to his side, putting an arm around his shoulders. Come on, man, we're gonna figure this out. This is just... I struggle to figure out what this just is, but I come up short. Listen, I saw this in a dream, and I think... they were trying to tell me something. What dream? A dream I had before I woke up. I have them almost every time we pass out. Why are you the only one having these dreams? I jump as Jenna speaks right behind me. I turn around, finding her eyeing me suspiciously. I don't know. None of you had dreams? I did. Raven pops his head from around the glass doors, still with that bizarrely resilient grin on his face. But it was about that black shadow creature thing chasing me through the kitchen, so I guess it's not really useful. What did you see in your dream, Chase? Well, this. I wave my hand out at the alternate reality town. But then the mine, too. Like, red stuff spread out of it, over the town. Then I saw a noose. I instinctively look over the edge of the balcony, down toward where I remember seeing the tree. Carl looks, too. What is it? Well, I saw a tree, with a noose on it. Carl looks slowly back up at me. Down there? I think so. The look of utter defeat in Carl's face has me hesitating to confirm it. What the fuck? I take a deep breath, trying to put what I feel into words. That dream, the way it zeroed in on the tree, it felt meaningful. I think we need to go to it. Jesus, why? Carl buries his face in his hands as he leans against the railing, shaking his head slowly from side to side. I don't know. But I don't know where else to start. This place is massive. So what? They put another letter there for us to find for some reason? Maybe. Guys? Carl keeps his head in his hands as I turn around. Raven is still standing by the glass door, but he's looking back into the room. Jenna left. What? Sure enough, Jenna is nowhere to be seen. Where did she go? Raven shrugs. Downstairs, I guess? Was she going to the tree? I start to move back into the house, then remember my destroyed ankle. I look back and see that Carl is still slumped against the railing. Carl? He doesn't look up. Carl, we need to keep moving. Finally, the ram pulls his head out of his arms and turns to help me. He gets me into our familiar position with me clinging to his neck while I hop along. I'm relieved he's actually moving, but I don't like the dull look in his eyes one bit. Raven, Carl, and I head down the hall toward the stairs. Carl's right. It's like a dream of Carl's house. Carl mentions that there are a few extra doors, all of which lead into bare, hardwood floor rooms. The ground level of the house, though, looks mostly normal. As we make our way through Carl's sort of home, I realize something. You guys hear the trains when we were on the deck? Maybe. Why? I thought I did. Just kind of weird. Like, what are those trains doing in a world that isn't really real? Maybe it is real? Maybe. I'm not convinced. As we pass through the living room, I can see that it's set up like it always is, and the kitchen looks to be in order as well. As we step outside, I notice that the mansion looks the same for the most part. Not the massive, old look it had in my dream. I hop along down the curving driveway from Carl's house like I remember in my dream. How Jenna would be able to find the tree on her own is beyond me. The only indication I'd given her as to where it was a glance over the railing of the deck. Man, it's so fucking close to being real, this place. Yeah. I don't have much else to add, but he's right. It feels so close to being home, but none of it is home. I slow my pace as I turn right at the end of Carl's driveway, practically tugging the ram along. We move the short distance down the road, then move to the edge on the left side of the road. I look down, over the side, onto the rocky, sagebrush-covered slope. And there's Jenna. Somehow, she immediately found it on her own. That old and rickety wooden platform sits under the tree. This tree and platform definitely aren't in the real Echo. There were a few scant mentions of a hanging tree in my research. If it was still standing, I'd have gone to get some film for my project. That project seems like something I was working on years ago at this point. I carefully start to climb down the slope, clinging to Carl. I'm about to call out to Jenna when I stop cold. As we moved to the side, the thick trunk of the tree shifted in my field of view and revealed the noose. Unlike my dream, the noose isn't empty. Hanging from the noose is a body. From where I'm standing, I can't see exactly what it is. Its back is to us, and all I can make out is a head, hands and feet, and some old-fashioned clothes, overalls and a cotton shirt of some kind. The clothes look worn and old, like they've been sitting out in the elements for years. I stop moving, instead staring at the body. Carl freezes too, and I can feel his ragged breathing in my ear. Jesus, Carl gasps. I stare for what feels like an entire minute before I find my voice. Jenna? She's also facing the body, so I can't see her face, but she holds up a hand towards me to quiet me before slowly pacing around the platform. It looks like she's moving towards the front, so I steel myself and slowly follow her. I don't want to look at the body as I move, but I can't tear my eyes away. It's old, very old. The fur is mostly gone, the skin underneath black and leathery. The face is drooping and sunken, the eyelids closed. It's been out in the sun for a very long time. I don't know much about corpses, so I don't know how long. I just know it's been a very long time. From what I can tell, it's a canine of some kind. A fox? John? For some reason I look towards Jenna to see if she'll let us know who it is. She doesn't, instead just staring at the body. Carl tightens his grip around my shoulders. I'm not sure if it's for support against the uneven ground, or the horror in front of us. Raven has chosen not to follow. Instead, he stands back behind the platform, looking away from the body. I swallow hard, trying to keep my nerves under control, trying to look at the situation like it's a simple task. Do you guys see anything? A note or something? I try to search the platform and avoid looking up at the body. There's something in its mouth. Carl points up at the corpse with a shaking finger. He's right. There's a flash of white in the mouth of the corpse, just barely sticking out from what look like gnarled teeth. A piece of paper, maybe? I'm surprised at how successful I am at keeping my voice calm. I sort of feel a little numb to all of this now. But I think we both realize at the same time what this means. That we're going to have to actually get that piece of paper. Fuck, man, why do we have to do this? Why don't they just tell us what they want us to know? I cling to Carl as much as he's clinging to me, trying to keep him calm. Listen, I'll get it. It's just a body. No, it's not! Nothing's just as it is in this fucked up place! Jenna suddenly turns on the two of us, causing both of us to flinch back from her. Chase, you need to get it. What? Why? You can't even fucking walk! I can crawl. He had the dream. They want him to be the one to get it. He volunteered anyway. That doesn't make sense. It makes perfect sense. Why the hell don't you get it? Carl has adjusted himself so that he's standing halfway in front of me protectively. Because that's what they want. That's bullshit. If you know something, Jenna, then why don't you fucking tell us? Carl's snarling at Jenna now, which is all the more impressive because rams can't snarl. We can't be doing this right now. Here we are in this fucked up dimension in front of a mummified corpse, arguing. I put my hand against Carl's chest. Listen, I'll get it. This is what they want, and this will help us move forward. I try not to think about actually going up to the wooden steps to stand in front of that corpse, but I don't really have any other options right now. Carl doesn't loosen his hold on me. Fuck no. Jenna, you get it, since you seem to know what the fuck is going on. Carl squeezes me tighter against his chest as he leans in to glare at Jenna. Jenna glares right back, and I can see her lips trembling as she appears to be holding back her own snarl. Stop it. Carl, let go. I'm gonna get the paper. No, Chase. Carl, nothing bad has happened when it comes to getting these stupid pieces of paper. I'll be fine. Carl looks down at me, his face etched with stubborn resoluteness. It's at least a nice change from the almost dead look I'd seen earlier. He stares at me hard for a good long while, to the point where I almost blush until finally, fine, but I'm coming up with you. I don't think... Shut up, Jenna. Each word seems to have to work hard to get itself out of Carl's muzzle. It's okay. Let's, go. I let Carl hold my hand as we both move toward the platform over uneven ground. I notice Raven standing off to the side, still facing away from us. I'd have to check on him later. The wood creaks softly under our feet as we make our way up the steps. I focus on my hopping foot, not wanting to look at the body. Once we reach the top, though, I realize that I'm going to have to. Leaning heavily against Carl for support, I look up. The corpse's eyes are open now. Two yellow, piercing eyes that are sunk deep in the skull stare back at me. You are disgusting. I'm disgusting? You're abhorrent, despicable, horrible. For telling truths. For telling your own truth. You don't know my story, my truth. Your truth is a delusion. You cruel, filthy son of a bitch! What do you want from me? I want justice. You and your people don't know the meaning of the word. Just let it rest. Let me rest. And you'd leave me restless? Murderer. You may not have killed me physically, but you murdered my life, you fucking... The Otter hears us. So, if he hears us, then it wants him to. Why does it? You think I know? Why does it create these places? They'll just do small things, then take it away. It's a game. My life, my reputation is a game to it. Ha! A game. Go on, why don't you tell him your truth? The Otter works with you. I wouldn't help him even if I could. But you can't, can you? You are but smoke. Good thing, too. You and your fucking lies. I will tell him this. Otter, you are stuck here because you cannot see the truth, and until you do... How will he know the truth if you only lie? You are disgusting. I'm 9 or 10 and I'm sitting under a tree in the forest. I like the feeling you get when you've finished crying. The stuffed up nose and throbbing in my head, along with the feeling of having just run 10 miles. Like I've just finished something really hard and now it's over. And then... a creak in the branches above me. I look up and see the fox, hanging from a rope. His dead eyes are on me. Why didn't you get your ass up here and dig it out yourself then? He's awake. Chase? A big hand is cradled below my head as I stare at the horns waving around above my eyes. Between them hangs the fox. Hey, you okay? What happened? I don't know. There were eyes? I stare harder at the fox, but the eyes are closed. Yeah, me too, but you sort of just fell back. Sorry, I dropped you and I think you hit your head. That would explain the headache. My head throbs with each heartbeat. Why didn't you grab the letter, Chase? Are you kidding me? I flinch at Carl's loud voice and the spit that flecks my face. He just passed out and that thing had something to do with it. Like I said, dig it out of the fucking mouth if you want to. Dig what out? I crane my head painfully to look at Jenna. She stands in the exact same spot, staring stoically. Raven has moved to stand next to her, but now his eyes are wide, staring at the fox. I turn my head back around toward the hanging fox, and that's when I see that the letter is gone. Where did it go? I push myself up, cringing as I once again forget about my ankle. Carl hurriedly fusses around me, helping me stand. I keep my eyes on the fox the entire time, but I don't see any signs of life. What happened? You fell. No, the fox. What happened to the letter? He ate it. What? How? It just sort of gobbled it up. Carl's free hand gestures at his mouth. God. I lean my forehead against the ram's cheek as I close my eyes. So are we not supposed to read it? Raven's voice is small and quiet. Nothing like his usual self, even during the time we've spent here. No one says anything for a while. I clear my throat. I think I heard John and James while I was out. What? What do they say? I think John and James, they're influencing some of this. But there's something else controlling all of it? How? I don't know. But it's stopping them from telling us what they want to say, like this is a game for it. I feel Carl shake his head against my head. So what are we supposed to do? Just figure out the game, I guess? They said something about having to see the truth, but I'm not exactly sure what that is. But the fox just ate our clue! That might have been one of them. James or John? I don't know. Do we just find another one then? I don't say anything because that's when I see the hint of white sticking out from the fox's pocket. I point. What's that? What? That, sticking out of the chest pocket. Huh. Carl moves a little closer, pulling me along tentatively. Raven calls anxiously from behind us. What are you guys doing? Carl's voice gets tighter, more nervous as he reaches out with a shaky hand. I keep my eyes focused on the pocket, not wanting to look into those eyes if they open again. Carl touches the chest, yanking back his hand once before slowly going in again. His face turns towards mine, cringing as he tries to look and not look at the same time. He fumbles at the pocket for a moment, the fox swinging just slightly from the ram's poking fingers. Excuse me. Finally, after what seems like several eternities, Carl manages to get a grip on the note. Once he does, he yanks his hand back, almost hitting the fox's muzzle as he slides the letter free from the pocket. Okay, let's go. Carl gently but quickly guides me down the stairs. Jenna eyes what's in Carl's hand suspiciously. What's that? Another letter or something. Where did you get that? The fox ate it earlier. I saw it sticking out of the pocket. I guess there was another one. Jenna goes quiet and her expression darkens. I'm about to ask her what's wrong, but Carl's already unfolding the paper, swinging the hand holding it to try and make it unfold. I help him out with my own free hand and hold the letter between us. I notice that the bottom of the paper has a rough tear, like somebody has torn it in half. Jenna and Raven move in closer opposite us. Please let this be the one that gets us back. It doesn't look like a letter. In fact, it looks like a newspaper clipping. Well, a photocopied one anyway. Carl, I think this came from your mom's collection of artifacts. I remember some pages were ripped out of the scrapbooks. Really? Yeah, I thought it was you taking them. Nope. I wonder how long ago this nightmare actually started. It seems that it had been setting itself up days before we fell into this place. Well, I guess I'll give it a read. Hopefully this is the one. I start with the big, bold title. Echo researcher uncovers town's serial killer past. Most might know Trisha Hendricks as the CEO of Hen's Ice Cream, but Echo locals would know her to be an avid history buff as well. I just love how it connects all of us, how it shows that everything has happened for a reason. But even she didn't realize what her research would uncover. According to Hendricks, the town's founder, James, had an affair with another man, and both may have been hiding a dark secret. You never know what you'll find out, but to think that James had a homosexual relationship, and with an alleged serial killer, well, it's really something. According to Hendricks' research, James may have been in a romantic relationship with a native fox by the name of John Begay. Town records indicate that Begay was accused of committing multiple child murders. Hendricks says the crimes were sexual in nature. I reach the bottom of the page where the rough tear begins. Clearly there's more to the article, but... Jenna! I look up just in time to see a flash of steel before Carl jumps back, pulling me along with him. The knife comes within inches of Carl's face before piercing into the newspaper clipping we were holding with a smack. What the hell? Jenna! I'm about to ask what she's doing because I think she's attacking the newspaper for some reason. But her intentions become clear as she moves towards us with a knife, eyes set on Carl. Jenna, stop! Raven bounces up and down, his hands pulling at his ears. Carl moves back as fast as he can while I limp along. Jenna, what are you doing? Jenna lunges at us, the knife arcing down from above again. This time she's too close and Carl pushes me to the side as he jumps back. I go down on my butt on the rocky ground. Putrid lying beast! Where's my letter? I don't know. What did I do? Carl's stuttering, stumbling, eyes wide with terror. I don't even know if he's going to defend himself when Jenna gets to him. With a muffled scream, I push myself onto my feet and hobble after them, each step sending electric lances of pain to the back of my brain. I don't have time to dwell on it though, because that's when Jenna reaches Carl. She grabs one of his horns and yanks him close, Carl swinging his fists wildly in her direction. It's a valiant effort, but Carl's not a fighter, and aside from letting out a few grunts, Jenna isn't affected. She raises the knife just as I reach them. No, stop! Carl, watch out! I yell as loud as I can before giving the fox the hardest shove I can give. I do it at an angle so she doesn't directly hit Carl. Carl leaps to the side as I slam into her, sending Jenna forward to faceplant onto the rocks and dirt. I reach out to Carl just as Raven goes blurring past me. He leaps onto Jenna, pinning her down. Go! Just go! We'll figure something out later, but you need to get away, Carl! Raven's snarling as he tries to keep Jenna pinned, something that doesn't match his cheerful face at all. Carl stumbles to his feet, then turns and starts jogging away. Carl, wait! Help me up! Carl seems to hesitate before finally turning around, leaning over to help pick me up. And with that, we limp away, toward the road. I think we're heading toward the mansion again, but Carl turns us toward the road to the town instead. The growls and snarls get fainter behind us, and I start to worry about what's going to happen to Raven. Hopefully Jenna just stops once Carl's out of sight. He seems to be the only thing she's interested in right now. Carl breathes raggedly in my ear, over the sound of his stumbling clops and my dragging shuffles. Carl, you want to go back to your house instead? Carl doesn't respond, and I look over to him to see him looking straight ahead, eyes fixed on nothing. Carl? He gives his head a little shake, so I go back to staring at my own feet. My ankle is numb at this point, which I guess is better than the lancing pain I had earlier. We're further down the road now, to the point where I can't hear Jenna or Raven anymore. Going this way might have been a good idea, since Jenna will probably end up going back to the mansion. Does she just need time to cool down? And where are we supposed to go now? I'm starting to realize that what just happened is going to affect everything. How are we even going to be near each other now? Jenna just tried to kill Carl. Jenna. Or John. I feel a sudden burst of anger towards him. fucking serial killer possessing her, forcing her to do this shit. Carl's breathing is getting more ragged. I look over at him again, and I'm not really surprised to see tracks of tears down his face. Carl, do you need to sit down a second? Take a rest? A few seconds later, Carl stops abruptly next to a small boulder, and I allow myself to be sat down on it. The ram doesn't sit down with me, though. Instead, he starts pacing back and forth in front of me, occasionally wiping his face with his arm. Carl? Carl, sit down. I don't know what to do, Chase. Neither do I. Just sit down for a second, No. I don't know if we'll ever get out of here. Carl sobs, then goes into a coughing fit. No, come on. We're doing good. We're at least getting somewhere. Where? This could go on forever! You don't know! I look up at the ram, trying to think of something comforting to say. Chase, I can't do this. I need a second. Carl turns and starts walking further down the road. Carl, wait, we shouldn't split up. Hang on. I stand unsteadily, leaning over to rest a hand on the rock as I watch Carl continue his trek down the road toward the town. Just wait, I need a moment. I'll be back. Carl! I feel myself start to panic as I stumble after him. I realize that not only am I afraid for Carl, for what might happen to him if he runs off into this fake world, but I'm also afraid of being alone here without Carl. I hobble after him, but I realize immediately that I'm not going to catch up. I watch him get further and further away, down the middle of the road. I wheeze, clutching my chest as I try to keep up, the sides of my vision starting to turn white. I'm not sure what it is, the panic, my breathlessness, or the world itself, but the whiteness seems to pulse with the faint sobs of the ram in front of me. Slowly, the white takes over, and I'm in a fog. There's a distant, rhythmic pounding that sounds like a gong. Where have I heard it before? I feel a twinge of worry in my chest that I'm going to be late for my next class. Class? Oh yeah, school. That's the clock tower that chimes every hour. Freezing cold leaks through my fur and stings at my nose. I bring my hands up to rub up my shoulders, shivering. The ground is covered in snow, even though it never snows here. At least not this much. We had a flurry once a few years ago, and even that was a surprise. But here it is, piled up on the ground. My mind is still catching up to me, feeling as if I've woken up in a dream. Excuse me. Fuck, what happened? Carl. I was chasing after Carl on the road. It all comes back to me slowly. I was going after Carl after Jenna tried to. I hear clopping up ahead of me. My head snaps up, looking into the fog, unable to see clearly through it. Hello? Carl? My voice echoes into the emptiness of the university. Pueblo University. It feels like I haven't been here in months rather than just a week. I rub my shoulders again before padding up slowly to one of the buildings. The pain in my ankle now is a dull, throbbing feeling, almost like it's dead. That doesn't seem like a good thing, but at least I can walk. It's just that I have to limp, feeling like I'm walking with a giant log instead of a leg. I focus on the building in front of me. I don't remember this one. In fact, I don't really remember any of them. The buildings are different shapes, just built with the same materials and colors of the buildings at the university. I reach out, grasping at the handle. It's locked. I stare at the door for a while, unsure of what to do. More distant clopping up the sidewalk gets my attention, so I start moving in that direction again. Carl? I call out more softly now because I'm starting to feel afraid of where I am. While I can't see anyone, the fur on my neck is prickling, like I'm somehow extremely vulnerable. I guess the only thing I know for sure about this ordeal is that nothing is as it seems. And for some reason I don't feel like I'm in a safe place. You were never there for me, you know. I jump. Carl? The only response is silence. At least it sounded like Carl. Kind of. It was crackly and muffled, like it was coming through a phone. I start to jog up the sidewalk, and I notice that I'm stepping through the snow, like it's not really there either. We're not gonna hurt ya. The voice comes right over my shoulder, and I cringe and let out a yelp, stumbling in my run to turn and face whatever just whispered into my ear. I stare at nothing. It had that same crackly, mechanical sound to it. My fur is now standing up all over my body, and I rub up my shoulders again, hugging my chest. A soft sound, maybe a footstep, behind me makes me whirl around in the other direction to find more emptiness. I stifle a whine and start trotting up the sidewalk again. This place is different. Something about this place is dangerous. It's unlike the mansion, or the cabin, or even being next to that hanging guy. Something could hurt me here. I don't know how I know, but I know it. Carl? My voice is getting more desperate. I've never felt more alone. Right now, more than anything, I just want to find Carl. You want me to be there for you? I jump, but keep jogging, basically hopping with the way my leg isn't working at all. That's funny. The sidewalk starts to curve and I come up on the school's pond. I whisper to myself, "Fuck, where are you?" As I keep walking, the ground no longer feels smooth. Instead, I feel little pointed bits of rock sticking into my feet pads, even though there's smooth pavement when I look down at the ground. I pass a little stone bench, one that Carl liked to sit on back when he was at school with me that first semester. I just can't, man. I wish I could, but every stupid fucking thing I say is so stupid. Trust me, man, it's not. I lift my hands up to my throat, shocked because I definitely didn't say that. My voice is coming through like the others, muffled, distant, from the direction of the bench. You don't understand. It's like I can't stop going over what I say to people. Then I just worry about it for days after. Well, just don't. Just forget about it. Right. Seriously, man. No one cares. Just don't worry about it, okay? Yeah, okay. I turn around, moving back the way I came, not wanting to hear those voices coming from the bench. I move back to where I was and look around. The sidewalk branches off in several different directions, and I have no idea which one to take. You weren't there for me. What? I stand there a moment, feeling the panic starting to rise. What's the matter, cunt face? We're not gonna hurt you. That's not Carl. That's not me. I'm hearing things. I close my eyes, hugging my chest again, stilling my breathing. Softer clopping sounds come from my left. I open my eyes and immediately move in that direction. Hey, we're just playing. I grit my teeth and mumble to myself. I was a kid. What was I supposed to do? There's no response as I keep moving. A loud pop makes me jump and cover my head. What the hell was that? Was that a gunshot? I crouch on the sidewalk, looking left and right, but not seeing anyone. Was someone shooting at me? It had seemed kind of far away. Whatever it was, just sitting here probably isn't going to help me. So I start moving again, a little faster, half bent over. To my left, I see the football stadium, rising up into the fog. I'd gone there for a few games, and a dance that they held on the field for homecoming. Dude, I'm not feeling very good. Want to go back and play something? Come on, I told you not to be like this. Can't really help it, man. Just tough it out another hour. No, man, I'm gonna head back. Alright then. Alright, later. I keep going, whispering to myself, to Carl. Is that you, Carl? Can you actually hear me? No response. I keep going, listening for clops. When I hear them, I follow. After what seems like about 10 minutes, I come up to a smaller building, one that the path leads directly into. I slow my pace as I come up to it, staring at the door. I listen for a long while, but there aren't any more clops. I reach out and rest my hand on the handle, then give a slight pull, expecting it to be locked, but it inches open smoothly. Staring for a while longer, I finally pull the door open and find our old dorm room. Like most things in this nightmare, it isn't exactly the same. Actually, it's probably about 3 times longer, like it's the interior of a stretch limo or something. And at the very end of it, I see Carl splayed out on one of the beds. It doesn't have a mattress in it, so he's just laying on a flat board. Slowly, I hobble over to him. He's staring up at the ceiling, and I'm kind of surprised to see a slight smile on his face. Hey. Carl? Carl looks over at me, surprised. Whoa. Hey, dude. What's up? He laughs over the last few words. I stare at him. What? Are you okay? Actually, yeah, I kind of am. Are you sure? I move over to the opposite bed. My old bed. Yeah. For the first time all week, actually. I push myself up onto the bed, which is off the ground a good 3 feet more than at the university. My feet dangle over the edge. Is your ankle okay? I told you to wait. I just needed a minute. I frown. Seriously? You just left me there in a place with smoke monsters. Carl grimaces. Yeah, sorry about that. What happened? I slide around on the bed to face the ram, noticing that while they're tall, they're a lot shorter in length. Short enough that Carl's hooves stick over the edge. Well, Jenna tried to kill me. I rub my shoulder, looking away. Yeah, but you know she's not in her right mind right now. We were talking about how maybe John... Oh, it's definitely John. James tried to do the same thing to me. Yeah? I was gonna ask what it was like. Carl pokes at the wall above his head, tapping it with his finger. Well, he basically just told me that I needed to find some stuff out. Keep lies from getting out. That he couldn't tell me why. I wonder what John's telling Jenna. Carl shrugs. I mean, can't be good if he's a serial killer. Yeah. Another period of silence. I don't mind it. It kind of feels nice. Not at all like outside, where I felt like I was in imminent danger. The only problem right now is that something smells kind of bad, but it's subtle enough that it's not really bothering me. So, we're at the university, huh? Yep. Wonder why. You hear the voices out there? Yeah. Things go quiet again, and I wonder what the hell Carl might be thinking. He looks ridiculously peaceful. Okay, did you find weed somewhere? Because you're looking as chill as I've ever seen you. Oh yeah? Yeah. Carl scratches his nose. Well, I guess I just realized some stuff. I wait, but he doesn't go on. Like what? Well, Chase, that I don't need you. I frown. What? Carl laughs. No offense, man, but I realize that I rely on people too much, you know? I still don't really know. Did something happen? I guess I always sort of held it against you, with what happened with Clint back in the day. Oh. The fight? Yeah, and also some things at college. But then I realized that isn't fair. He pauses, but I don't say anything. I realized that I'm really responsible for myself in the end. That I need to help myself. That's... good? I can't help but wonder if now is the best time for this epiphany Carl is having. But it explains the setting we're in right now. Did he do this with his own mind? Is everything we've been through the result of our own imaginations? Carl sits up suddenly, rubbing the bed. And that I'm sick of feeling like I have to do something important, that I need to be important. He turns on his butt to face me and spreads out his hands. Because I'm not! I'm not important at all. I'm a rich-ass, spoiled little shit, and that's about it. Come on, Carl. No, it's a good thing. I'm happy because I realized I'm okay with it. Carl smirks at me. I want to go to college, but I want to get an art degree. Then I just want to get some job I can halfway stand to play games in my free time. He stares at me and I stare back. Okay. Carl laughs again. I know this sounds stupid, but realizing this, it just feels good to feel comfortable in my own skin. I haven't been comfortable for so fucking long. Oh, that's good. I try to smile for the ram. But I mean, we need to get out of here if you're gonna do anything. Yeah, it's weird that I'm feeling this way right now. But what isn't weird here? Carl reaches out to the wall again, feeling it carefully. Anyway, when I said I didn't need you, it sounded fucked up. And I still love you, man. Yeah, I love you too. But I needed to say it out loud, I guess. I don't need anyone to make me feel okay. I just need to be okay with myself. And I guess I am. I give Carl a weak smile, not sure what else to say. Sounds cliche, huh? But it's true. I mean, I'm just happy that you're okay. You ran away so suddenly. I had another panic attack. Almost as bad as the one I had here. Carl points over to the opposite end of the room, at a desk. I came back from that stupid dance and had a bunch of homework to do for that computer programming class my dad made me take. I don't know. Having that bad experience at the dance and trying to figure out programming I didn't fucking understand. Something cracked. Carl looks over at me. When I got back home, things were worse than they'd ever been. Then one time I dropped acid and thought I killed you. I make a face, but Carl waves his hand. Long story, but then I thought that was a sign that maybe you were the one that was holding me together all that time. Carl, I had no idea. Yeah, how are you supposed to know? I didn't say anything. And when you came back to Echo, I thought maybe I could pull myself together with you there. Carl grins. Then after this hellscape thing, and Jenna, I just got fed up with it, I guess. Carl shrugs. I don't know. I cracked again, but it's like I cracked back in place. I just feel okay now, that we're gonna get through this. I finally kinda chuckle too. I'm happy for you, I really am. Just wish we could actually get back to Echo so you can feel better there. Carl taps his teeth loudly with his fingers, then looks at me. Dude, I think we are. I look at him quizzically. Carl runs a hand over the bed again. I just realized something, looking at this place. Can you see it? I furrow my brows. See what? This place seem familiar at all? Because now I'm seeing something completely different. I squint. No. Looks like the dorm, just a super long version of it. Carl smiles. Nah, man. We're in the diner. What? But I can't go on because as soon as I see the shape of the diner, the dorm room melts away like a mirage. I'm on a table and Carl sits across from me on the opposite table. Oh! Carl's smile stretches into a grin. I guess we see the truth now? So, we've been here the whole time. I gasp heavily, leaning on Carl as we make our way up the road toward the mansion. Looks that way. I think it all happened in my house. I look around me in the darkness of the night. While the surreal feeling of dreaming is gone, I still feel like I'm in some kind of nightmare. Carl tried his phone the second we realized we were back, but it was dead. Here outside, no one is around, though we did see a few bodies in the middle of the road. What the hell is happening? I think everyone's gone crazy. Carl seems to be mostly talking to himself. I remember seeing Janice running through the street just before everything went to shit, and I'm inclined to think he's right. Should we maybe go to Leo's place instead? I don't know. I kind of want to find Raven and Jenna. Break them out of this first. I mean, she's still got that knife. Maybe she's calmed down. Then we can tell them and snap them out of it. Well, you'd think the others would come and find us or something. The fact that they haven't... Carl grunts in acknowledgement, but doesn't say anything more. Meanwhile, the mansion looms ominously in front of us, and there's no sign of Raven or Jenna in front. There's the tree where we saw the body hanging, thankfully empty. I vaguely wonder if the newspaper clipping that the corpse ate is still there somehow. As Carl half drags me through the driveway, he hesitates. Listen, maybe you should wait out here. I'll, wake the others up. Then I'll grab the keys and we can drive out to Peyton. Get away from all of this. I laugh despite myself. Yeah, right. After everything we've been through? Besides, I saved your ass when John went after you. I might have to do it again. Carl smirks. Yeah, alright. But if he comes at us, I want you getting the hell out of here. Get into your car and get to Peyton. In hindsight, maybe we should have gotten my car from the motel and left that way instead? Carl shrugs. I would have come here anyway. I'm more worried about Raven right now. We're on the steps now, and Carl listens intently, his long ears poking up. It's dead silent. My heart rate starts to pick up as Carl reaches for the door, imagining John running out of the darkness, knife in hand. Very slowly, Carl twists the knob and pushes open the door. Thanks to the well-oiled hinges, it makes hardly a sound as it slowly swings open. We're met with darkness, aside from a few LEDs from the TV set. Carl leans close to my ear. At least the power's still on. I'm gonna try the landline first. I nod as Carl and I step over the foundation and into the house. I'm happy to see that Carl's kitchen looks just like Carl's kitchen. Despite the terrifying atmosphere, there's a relief that comes with knowing that we've broken free of the nightmare, whatever that was. Just then, a distant soft pop echoes from the town. We both look back for a moment, and I remember the sound I heard while running through Pueblo. Had someone shot at me? I don't have long to dwell on that as Carl tugs me into the kitchen, purposefully leaving the door open behind us. He's probably more worried about what might be in the house rather than what's far away in the town. The ram reaches for the light switch, then thinks better of it. He leaves me leaning into the counter before moving to the phone. I look around, noticing that the table is set with a few plates with what looks like squares of drywall on them. In fact, the whole table is covered in dust that probably came from the crawl space. I frown at that before noticing a clear cup on the counter full of some kind of yellow liquid. At the same time, I see a piece of paper laying next to me, standing out on the spotless counter. I reach out, pressing a hand over it and feeling the smooth piece of paper, its size and shape familiar. Excuse me. I pick it up, looking around for a light source before seeing the fridge and hobbling over to it. Line's dead. What are you doing, dude? I open the fridge, letting the dim yellow light spill out. I hold up the paper, which seems to be a copy of a newspaper clipping. This is the photocopy from the cabin, I whisper loudly. Masada boy missing. Native settler tensions rise. Fifth native boy goes missing in 2 years. Native chief says disappearances did not happen until settlers arrived. James Hendricks has been confined in the county jail pending further evidence. I look up at Carl. Wait, so was it James that was kidnapping children? Carl shrugs at me. I really don't know, man, and I don't think it matters right now. He did have a point, considering we weren't trapped in the nightmare anymore, though I still feel like something is missing. Yeah, you're right. I fold up and shove the paper into my pocket anyway. So the phone's dead. I think we should just grab the keys and... Carl's ears prick up. I'd do the same with mine if I could. You hear that? No? Carl moves to the stairs. Stay here, I'll be right back. I shout whisper. What? I'll be right back. I think I hear Raven. I bite my lip. This new boost of confidence that Carl's gotten is great and all, but his hero's complex is about to get him killed. I follow the ram to the top of the stairs, watching him about to start downwards before jabbing him in the back with my knuckles. I look back into the almost as dark kitchen before making up my mind and hopping down the stairs after the ram. He jumps. Holy shit! You scared the hell out of me! Carl also shout whispers. Well, fuck you for thinking of leaving me up here. I told you outside, we're sticking together. Okay, just hold on to my shirt or something. Okay. With that, Carl starts making his way down the stairs with me limping behind. Slowly but surely, I start to hear something too. It's muffled and quiet and sounds very much like a voice. The voice is calm and reasonable, and I'm pretty sure it is Raven's. Carl stops next to a door on our left, where the voice seems to be coming from. Wait, maybe I should open it? If Jenna's in there, it's not like she's going after me, right? Carl seems to hesitate in the darkness. I don't know, man. Don't worry, you'll be right next to me, right? There's a moment of silence again before Carl shifts next to me, to the side of the door. Alright, but get behind me if she goes after you. I nod as well, even if you can't see me. I take a breath, steeling myself for what might be behind the door. Slowly, I push it open. It's also dark in this room. The weight room, I realize. The talking stops immediately before it turns into a whine. Oh my god, and the door opened by itself! This is insane! I feel for the light switch next to the door and flip it on. There sits Raven, tied up to a weight machine with what looks like several pieces of clothing. A few pieces of paper sit on his lap and on the ground. The husky is staring right at me, but there's no sign of recognition in his face. There's no sign of Jenna either, thank God. Raven? Oh god, it knows my name! Raven starts writhing around in his bonds. Mr. Ghost Thing, what do you want? Do you want money? Honestly, I don't have very much money at all. I work at the mall. Carl pokes his head in too. Hey, Raven? Can you hear me? But Raven keeps babbling on about his job. Carl frowns and shifts past me into the room. I stand in the doorway, looking back into the hall, but only seeing darkness. Raven's still chattering when Carl reaches out, resting a hand on his shoulder. The shriek that Raven lets out makes my fur stand on end. Oh my god, no, 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 no! Shh! Carl presses his hand into the husky's mouth, muffling his nose just a bit, but that's when Raven's eyes widen. Whoa! Whoa, hey Carl! He stares around, wide-eyed. Wow, where am I? In my house, in my weight room. Are you okay? The husky looks at Carl again. What? How? Carl shrugs. We have no idea. I look back into the hallway to make sure Jenna isn't coming after all that shrieking, then look back at the other two. So, it's that easy? We just had to touch him? Carl turns to me. I guess. It's like it really is just a dream or something. Hey, Chase. Raven is craning his head around Carl now. Hey, Raven. Raven stares around at the room again. Wow. You know, just a second ago I was in a really fancy-looking bedroom. It had a bed with curtains on it and stuff. Raven, how'd you get tied up? Oh, Jenna, of course. Actually, she calmed down a bit and I brought her into the house. But then she punched me. Carl sets to untying the husky while Raven rubs the back of his head against the weight machine. And I fell down the stairs and she dragged me into this room and tied me up. Raven smiles sheepishly. Honestly, I probably could have fought her off. But facing a tiny, maybe a serial killer girl with a knife is kind of scary, so I just did what she told me. That's okay. Do you, know where she is now? I glance back into the hallway. Still nothing. No, she went back out. She did come back like 10 minutes ago, though, and shoved these papers into my face. Raven points at the papers in his lap and on the ground with a free hand. Carl gets started on untying the binds around his legs. Said something about these being the real letters, the truth or whatever. I limp into the room, partly because I don't want to get caught by Jenna if she suddenly comes in, and also because I want to look at the 2 letters. They're short. One of them is about a paragraph, the other is only a few words. Because it's second nature now, I pick up the longer one and read aloud. I don't know what to say after finding your dungeon. No, there are no other words for it, James. It is a dungeon. And after finding the boy's body, finding out what you'd done to it, there truly are no words, James. I only know now why you were never satisfied with me. All of your sweet words have turned to poison. I'm leaving you to the law and leaving this wretched town behind. I only hope that God has no mercy on your soul. I pick up the other letter, placing it over the first. You are disgusting. I don't have James's letters, so I have no idea what John was responding to. I also don't know who to believe anymore. John or James, or even the thing they were talking about could alter the notes left around in that dreamscape. There's no way I can even begin to piece together who is manipulating what. But maybe because I'm in the real world now, and this is certainly real, this could be the actual truth. I also noticed the collection of dust on these photocopy pages. Taken from the scrapbook and stashed somewhere. Probably the crawl space, considering the state they're in. Is Jenna in the crawl space right now, searching for letters? Raven finally pulls his feet out of the ropes, rubbing his arms. He nods at me. Said she wrote that one in jail after James had written to him? I gotta say, since that whole knife thing, she seems like she doesn't know who she is. I fold up the letters, putting them in my pocket with the news article. I mean, she keeps going on about James and letters. Did she say anything else? About the letters? Raven frowns, looking at the ceiling. She said something about not being able to finish the game because one of them burned and the other got, eaten. I put a hand on my pocket. Well, I found the one that burned on the counter upstairs. I don't think it burned. We just saw it burn. I think to the tree outside in front of the house, but Carl shakes his head. Doesn't really matter now that we're free of this shit. Let's find the keys and get the hell out. Carl starts on the last restraints around Raven's ankles. I get up and limp to the doorway again, looking out toward the crawl space. In that moment, I hear a whisper of movement down the hall. I limp out a bit more, watching as 2 tall ears slowly materialize out of the darkness. For a moment, I see a young male fox in overalls in front of me. But that imagery dissolves as Jenna is slowly lit up by the light coming from the weight room. She's covered in the dust from the crawl space. I'm startled, but I'm not scared because I know she can't see me. At least, she shouldn't be able to see me. But her piercing eyes are right on me. She can see me. Maybe it's the fact that it's not Jenna at all. Maybe it's because she's completely possessed and it's John looking through her eyes. Whatever it is, she can see me, that's clear. Because she immediately raises the knife and bares her teeth at me. I don't want the others getting caught by her, especially with Raven tied up like that. I need to give Carl or I a chance to attack from behind, depending on if she goes for me or takes a turn into the weight room. She's coming! I back out into the hall and wait from Jenna, hoping to give one of us the advantage. But she's coming so fast. Otter. You're in on it with James, huh? Her voice, rough and deep, unlike anything I'd heard from Jenna before. I realize then that there's no waking Jenna up from this. It's not Jenna anymore. And John sure as hell isn't waking up. John lunges and I turn and run. The fox doesn't even glance into the weight room as he comes for me. I limp and leap through the darkness, left hand stretched out, desperately feeling for the end of the wall that will signify the stairs. I hear the fox breathing behind me, bumping into the walls. Finally, my hand falls through nothing and I turn sharply to run up the stairs. As I stumble upwards, I start to wonder what the hell I'm going to do. While I could try and go for a bathroom, lock the door, that doesn't exactly help out Carl. I can't stop thinking about the newspaper clipping that John's hanging corpse ate. If I can get that, get all the pieces that it wants us to get, then maybe I can end whatever this is. My thoughts are interrupted as something cold goes down my back, followed by an even colder pain just to the right of my spine. I gasp as if I've fallen into water, but continue upwards. I can hear Carl shouting, too, at the base of the stairs. There's too much distance between me and him for the ram to be of any help. As I reach the top of the stairs, there's a loud thwack sound to the left of my head, just as I stumble into the kitchen. A quick glance over my shoulder and I see John yanking the knife from the wall. Almost sobbing now, I jump limp my way to the front door, hearing John scream curses at me from behind. While I want Carl's help right now, I also don't want him to catch up. I don't want John turning on him. I struggle with the door for a moment, for some reason trying to push on it rather than pull. It's only a few seconds, but enough for John to gain on me and swing with a knife again as I pull open the door. I scream and duck, hearing the metal clang against the door hinge. I lunge forward out the door and into the cool of the early morning. The sky is a soft blue as dawn breaks. I limp as fast as I can down the steps, down the driveway, toward the slope past the road, but John catches me again as I'm on the road. This time he grabs my shirt, holding on to me. I turn to face him as he jaws the knife back for another swing, but at that moment we go over the slope. Even in my adrenaline-fueled state, the fall is painful, and each time I roll I can feel the stab of rock sticking into my skin. The final bounce is punctuated with a blinding pain on my forehead as it collides with a small boulder. I shakily get to my feet, looking left and right for the tree, panicking until I realize it's right in front of me. I stumble right into it, clinging to it. I scan the dirt, but there's nothing. No paper at all. Jenna's getting up, just 5 feet away. I can see blood oozing through several scratches on his body. The knife is still in his hand and he zeroes in on me again. I cower and move behind the tree, my plan ruined. And that's when my face comes level with the hollow in the tree. Automatically, I reach in, feeling around, feeling mostly spiderwebs and twigs before Carl appears at the top of the slope. Hey! Hey, stop! John whirls around, knife raised as he immediately moves in the other direction. You! My hand finds the corner of a piece of paper and I pull out the newspaper clipping. I scan over it. It's another quote from Carl's mother. I begin to read, my voice cracking as I manage to shout. But I was able to open a lockbox kept by James himself. It was full of jail letters between him and John. John freezes in his steps, knife still raised, looking up at Carl. I don't want to sully the Hendricks name, but if what John said is true, James framed him with the most heinous crime in Echo's history. In the meantime, Carl stumbles down the slope, moving carefully around the fox to stand next to me. I reach into my pocket and pull out the other pieces of paper. I hold them up. John, we know the truth. I'm going to tell everyone in my documentary, okay? I'm a journalist, a reporter. We see the truth. John turns towards me, knife slowly lowering. And just like that, it's not John anymore. It's Jenna. The knife clatters to the rocks. Carl reaches out to hold me and I collapse against him, everything numb. Jenna's hands go to her mouth, staring at the knife, staring at me and Carl before she screams. In the distance I can hear sirens. Is history subjective in nature? The story of James and John sure seems to be. All we have are a few written letters, and from these we must try to draw some sort of conclusion. In the end, it can't really be said what exactly happened almost 150 years ago. Instead, we can only provide the facts. Several native children went missing. James was accused of the crime before claiming that his secret lover, John, was the culprit. In his jail letters, Jonathan claims that he was framed by James. Because of the vigilante justice dealt out by the town, John never had a trial, and no record of the evidence collected exists. James, because of his influence, was allowed to leave and live hundreds of miles away on the west coast where he eventually died. He never wrote of the incident again. Many believe that, as journalists, we're supposed to be unbiased and only state facts. That's not exactly true, as long as it's clear that we're stating an opinion. so I'd like to do that now. It's my opinion that John is innocent. We should be presumed innocent until proven guilty, after all, and Jonathan has never even had that chance. According to accounts written by other townspeople, James was a deceitful and emotionally manipulative man. There are many accounts of his prejudices against the native people. In the end, the records that exist of John give us no reason to disbelieve him, while James has given us every reason to doubt him. But because time is evidence's worst enemy, it has been 150 years, the definitive answer will likely never be known. Like much of Echo, the story is lost to time. I'm Chase Hunter at Pueblo University, and this has been a special report on the town of Echo. I look over the report again, eyes stinging from staring at a monitor for too long. I'm a terrible writer, and the words of the script seem so clumsy. I shrug and decide I'll have time tomorrow to polish it up a bit. It's weird, writing the last word to a script I started almost 1.5 years ago. It's changed a lot since then, moving from a focus on hysteria to an old mansion mystery. My mind wanders back to that spring break in Echo. I still shake my head when I think about it, how it completely shattered my view on reality, my view on life. Of course, I couldn't come back to school right afterwards. I hadn't finished my project after all. Actually, I needed therapy. We all did. Except Carl. He seemed to have come out of it better than he had been going into it. Somehow. Everyone handles trauma differently, Jenna would say. In fact, she has a lot of things to say about what happened. While she didn't come out quite as unscathed as Carl, she's still tougher than me, and actually went right back to school that summer. Now she's at Weston, and a lot of her research is focused on folie à deux, or shared psychosis. Because of how everything went down, the things we felt and what we saw, Jen is convinced that that's what took place. She brought up the way we primed each other to hear and see things. The way the things we saw didn't seem to have any rhyme or reason for what they were. While I do believe a lot of what we saw came from ourselves, I'm not fully convinced that explains all of it. Mainly because the rest of the townspeople went through their own nightmare that night. I still can't believe the things that Leo and TJ went through. Still, I'm glad she can find a way to explain it to herself. She told me over the phone just last week that she hasn't forgiven herself, that she should have been stronger than that. I've told her over and over that it's not her fault, but I guess after coming to with a knife in her hand and her friend stabbed, it left an impression. I rest my hand on the thick scar through my shirt that runs all the way down my back, and wiggle the ankle that causes me a permanent limp. Still, this whole incident, it actually brought us closer. At least for Jenna, Carl, and I. Hell, even Raven. It's still painful to think about how Flynn, Leo, and TJ, poor TJ, aren't really talking anymore. I guess it's the fact that we went through completely different things during the incident. Of course, we told the police there was someone else that had stabbed me while the town descended into madness. Echo, a name now famous worldwide after the mass hysteria incident that truly brought a dying town to its ultimate end. At least in terms of being a failed town. While no one really lives there now, it's certainly become a tourist attraction. Countless news reports, TV shows, and paranormal investigators descended on the area. Especially once the news story changed from spree killings leave 9 dead to whole town went nuts. Luckily, not a lot of focus fell on us, since we weren't exactly living in Echo anymore. We just got into the ambulances and left. Carl, on the other hand, along with the rest of his family, are still harassed by the media. Carl's mom, Trisha, is a pro at handling the media, though. I still wonder about what exactly it was that stopped her from publishing all her findings. I'll have to ask her sometime, considering I'm practically family due to how much I visit with Carl. In the end, the relationship that I had with Carl in the dreamscape didn't exactly survive in the real world. Carl told me that he didn't know where he ended and James began, even when he rejected James's influence. We couldn't really trust anything that happened there. But still, he's my best friend, and I plan to spend the summer over at his house when I start my next project on Echo. Yeah, I realize that there are a lot more stories to cover over there, and I plan to uncover them. It's almost healing, going back now without any fear. My own little therapy. Guess I always end up back there eventually. The sound of clops to my right makes me look up, just as a bulky ram fills the frame of the doorway. Carl leans against it, rolling his eyes. Dude, you told me you were gonna work on that tomorrow. I smile and rest my chin on my palm. Was just giving it a quick once over before we film. Yeah, sure. Anyway, I'm going for some pizza. You coming? I'm not really hungry, but taking my mind off Echo for just a little bit sounds good. Carl always cheered me up anyway. I nod over at the corner of our dorm room, where Carl's papier-mâché sculpture of a torture-looking bird sits. Don't you have to finish that thing by tomorrow? Carl shrugs. I got like 3 energy drinks in the fridge, I'll be good. Come on, let's get going. I want to meet Caitlin there too. I get up slowly, stretching out my back. Oh, I see. So I'm just your wingman. Carl smirks. It's not like that, dude. I just like hanging out with her. Now let's go! Carl hangs on the frame, starting to swing himself out into the hall. Hey, Carl? Carl rebounds back into the room, leaning in towards me. Yo? Thanks. For being my friend. I don't know if it was all the reminiscing about what happened the spring before last, or if I'm still not over what happened, but Carl seems to understand. He smiles and reaches out a big hand toward me, which I grasp. Of course, man. And if you need to talk or something, I'm here. Do you want to talk right now? I shake my head quickly. Nah, I'm good. Just wanted to say it. Carl smiles. Well, thanks for saying it. Now let's go! Carl again swings on the frame out into the hall. There's some loud clopping before I hear him shouting at someone and giving them what sounds like a high five. I smile to myself as I look at the document on the screen one last time, before closing the laptop and following Carl out into the hallway. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you on the next route.